Suppose a scientist is conducting certain experiments on a virus. It's a dangerous virus and it gets released out of the lab and causes injury to people. Can that scientist say that, no, I didn't do any injury, it was the virus who caused injury? No, he cannot do that. If you bring a dog to your house and if your dog goes out, chases your neighbor and bites him, in that case you cannot say that it's not my fault, it's dog's fault. You cannot do that, right? Same thing happened in case of Raylands versus Fletcher, a very important case law in law of tort. Hey everyone, welcome to Law Simple and Pure. I'm your host Dr. Vaishali, and today we will do a case study of Raylands versus Fletcher, and I will provide you a map which you are supposed to follow while writing your case study. Okay. In introduction, we'll provide that Indian law of torts is based on British law of torts, okay, and British law of torts is derived from case laws. In India, law of torts is uncodified. In Britain also it is uncodified. Uncodified means there is no act of parliament on torts. For example, on Indian crimes we have Indian Penal Code, right? For contracts we have Indian Contract Act. But for torts, there is no legislative law. We'll still follow the old case laws. Some case laws are modified, some are still followed as it is. And this is today's important case law. It comes in the area of nuisance and liability also. So principle of liability is developed in this case. So that is the importance of this case. So you will point out this in introduction. Second point, facts of the case. Mr. Fletcher and Mr. Raylands, they owe adjacent lands. So this is a landowner and this is a nearby landowner. Now Fletcher has a coal mine and his workers used to dig the coal from a mine and they used to sell it and make some money. Near Mr. Fletcher, Raylands purchased a land, okay. He had a mill, and in order to run that mill he needed water tanks, which are called as water reservoirs. It means a big tank in which you store a water. Raylands appointed an independent contractor and he told that engineer or contractor to evaluate the situation, to do an inspection and construct the reservoirs. So engineers, while doing inspection, they discovered some underground channels or tunnels, okay, which they found they are connected to Fletcher's land. So there were some tunnels or channels, underground channels, which were connected to Mr. Fletcher's land. So those engineers, they filled those tunnels with loose earth. They didn't take proper care of these channels or tunnels. Then once the work was done, reservoirs were filled with water. They filled water, they got water and they filled it in these reservoirs. After certain times, water overflew, okay, and flood came, and because of these underground channels, that water traveled from Raylands' land to Fletcher's land. Once water entered into coal mine, his mine got damaged, okay, all the coal got wet, and Raylands and Fletcher has to stop his business for a certain period of time. Now you will wonder, if Fletcher is the one who is injured, how come his name is second? He should be the plaintiff, right? But he was plaintiff initially, but Raylands was not happy with the decision, so he made an appeal. So when whoever goes in appeal, he becomes appellant. So his name is first and he is defendant here, okay. But Fletcher's coal mine was damaged because of Raylands Act. Now Raylands said that I'm not responsible here. It is the engineer or the contractor who was employed by me. He did the inspection and he is responsible, and I'm not responsible. Now let us see what are the points or law points involved in this case. Number one, whether Mr. Raylands is liable to Mr. Fletcher. And second, who is responsible in this case? Whether Raylands is responsible or the engineer or independent contractor is responsible. So let us see what happened in judgment of this case. In the judgment, Justice Blackburn provided that whoever brings something to his land, okay, which is non-natural use of that land. Over here what happened? Raylands brought water to his land, okay. It was a dry land, so it was not a lake, right? So bringing water to a dry land is a non-natural use of that land, and which has a tendency to escape. So water, it keeps flowing. So water has a tendency to escape. Escapes and damages. So over here water escaped and damaged Fletcher's cold mine. Then that person is strictly liable in this case. So in this case, Mr. Raylands is strictly liable to Mr. Fletcher. So Justice Blackburn provided that whenever you bring something at your land, for example, bringing a dog to your house, which is non-natural use of the land. Dogs are not supposed to stay with you, and if they are staying with you, you are supposed to take care of them, right? So because it has a tendency to escape, if it escapes and causes harm to your neighbor, then in that case you are strictly liable. You cannot say that it's not my fault, it's my dog's fault, right? And this is a principle of strict liability. It is a very important case in law of torts, and Indian judiciary took this principle to a next level in MC Mehta versus Union of India in the form of absolute liability. We are again going to study that principle while studying liability and while studying a case law on Bhopal gas tragedy, and then followed by MC Mehta versus Union of India. After this judgment, you have to conclude. So step number 1 is introduction of a case. Okay, so this relates to nuisance and liability. Number 2, facts of a case in short. Number 3, law points involved in a case. Then judgment on each and every law point, and then the conclusion. Then we'll conclude that this case shaped law of torts in England and law of torts in India as well. Indian judiciary took it to next level in the form of absolute liability. Okay, so whoever brings something at his land which is non-natural use of that land, it has a tendency to escape, it escapes and damages, then in that case owner of that thing is liable. That's it for the day. Stay tuned till my next lecture. Goodbye and good luck.